In this edition of Insight, the Pierre Fire Department shows off their newest piece of gear. Dr. Michael Holland updates us on progress at the new Helmsley Center. And we head back to the river to take in the sunset with Captain Caleb Gilkerson. That's today on Insight. Thanks for watching. If you spend any time at all on the river in Pierre and Fort Pierre, chances are you've seen a couple of new, very visible boats. One is Pierre Fire Department Boat B1. This is the rescue boat that responds to all emergencies on the water. We got the lowdown from Fire Chief Ian Paul. We're at number 1 fire station with Fire Chief Ian Paul. And Chief, tell me a little bit about B1. This has to be one of the flashiest pieces of equipment we've seen in a city yard in a long time.
Yeah, it certainly is, and a bit of a very functional, flashy piece of equipment. This boat is our newest addition to our water rescue fleet. This boat is replacing a very large boat that we had in our fleet previously, our old big yellow boat. You might have seen that floating around town a little bit. But this one is replacing that one. That one was aging out, and it was a good time to move that one out and move the new one in. And so this one is in service and ready to be used at a moment's notice.
So let's talk a little bit about this boat. I think everyone remembers the old yellow boat, affectionately known as the big yellow boat or the banana boat on occasion. We saw it out there doing a lot of community service work and rescue work. But what do you use boats for at the Pierre Fire Department?
Well, multiple things. Some very minor non-emergency situations that we use if someone's stranded on a sandbar and stuff. There's another company in town that helps us pick up some of that when they're available, but we do use them for some minor things along those lines. We use them for a lot of public relations things, whether it's helping with triathlons or I Swam the Dam event or other events that take place on the water. It's a presence on the water, it's a safety presence on the water, so we use them in those regards quite a bit as well. But more so, the main reason for the boat is for emergency use. So if we have somebody in distress on the water, whether it's a watercraft or somebody's in the water or hopefully not, but if somebody's under the water, this is a response vehicle. We can use it to deploy ourselves out to that location. We can take our divers, if needed, out to the location where the person in distress is at.
We give you a hard time about this being such a fun-looking boat, but in reality, this is a response vehicle. It's every bit a piece of fire apparatus as a truck or as the jaws of life. You really use it a lot.
We do, and it'll be our primary response unit for the water. This boat's designed, it can handle the big water up on Lake Oahe. Sometimes you'll get some bigger waves up there, but it also can handle the water down here on the Missouri River down here. So it can get in anywhere about that our response area is, which is basically all of central South Dakota area, but we can get about anywhere we need to as long as there's a boat ramp.
Let's talk a little bit about your response area. The boat says Pierre Rescue on it, and that's a division of the Pierre Fire Department, a company within the department, but actually the boat's funded by something called the Tri-County Emergency Response, as I understand. Tell me a little bit about your rescue response and how that all works.
Yeah, we are set up in 3 counties, Sully, Stanley, and Hughes County, and also have 2 cities participating, Fort Pierre and the city of Pierre. And they all contribute a certain amount of funds based on population to the Tri-County funds. The Pierre Rescue, Pierre Fire runs that up organization through the fire department, but we respond to everywhere within those locations, and sometimes even beyond that. If somebody needs help, we're not going to turn them down. If they need our assistance, we'll respond even beyond our normal response area. But that's kind of how this program is funded for the rescue squad. That's how we get our rescue truck and some of our other rescue equipment is through this all these entities contributing to the fund. And when there's enough fund or enough money in the fund, we can use that to upgrade our equipment when needed.
So the boat that you had previously, that was funded through a different matrix, and it actually went back to the owners at the state of South Dakota, and it's not actually with the fire department anymore. This is now completely online, and it's replaced something. It's not in addition to, but it's in place of.
Correct. The big yellow boat, or the banana boat as some people refer to it, we purchased that about 18 years ago through a program called the Coast Guard Grant Program, which is organized and monitored by the state Game Fish and Parks, state of South Dakota Game Fish and Parks. What that means is when at the time we purchased the boat, it's a 50-50 match. They pay 50% of it, we pay 50% of it. We maintain possession, we maintain maintenance on it, and also insurance. And then when it comes to the end of its life, or when we decide we do not want that particular piece of equipment anymore, we turn it back over to the state of South Dakota, who's the title holder. And that's what we did with the big yellow boat. Once we got this one placed back in the service, the yellow boat was going out of service. We don't maintain possession, nor did we ever have the title for that boat. It goes back to the state of South Dakota.
So this boat, I know that you put a lot of personal time into speccing it out, but firefighters take equipment very, very seriously. You folks really put a lot of thought into the design. I might even suggest that you put more thought into this than any previous watercraft, knowing how long it took to develop the specs for this. Tell us a little bit about what you were looking for in the mission that you wanted to do, because this really is a multiple response vehicle.
Yeah, and we don't look at just, when we're looking at speccing out equipment such as this boat, we don't just take a snapshot of today. We like to look at what's going to be best for our department and our community today, 5 years from now, 15 years from now. So we take all of that into account. So if we currently have 2 boats. We have our other boat up at the other station yet, and this one will be accompanying that one. We're going to weigh the factor if we're still going to run 2 boats or not. And if we don't decide not to run 2 boats when that one comes up for replacement, and if we do go down to 1 boat, this boat will be able to handle kind of both operations of what we do around here, what our response is. So we have a committee that we put together, so it's just not me making the decisions. We have a committee of firefighters, rescue squad members that come together to develop and decide what's going to be best for our community and what's going to be best for our operators that are going to be running the boat, and make a decision based on that. And then they bring that stuff forward. We take it to the community and the commission and move forward from there on moving on the purchase.
I know I've never seen the Pierce City Commission pay as much attention to a single piece of equipment as they did to this boat. There's something about boats that I think everyone likes.
Yeah, I think people enjoy looking at boats a little bit more than maybe a street sweeper or a dump truck or something. It just catches the eye a little bit more because, you know, it's something that's maybe a little more fun to operate, and they can relate a little bit more because many people have their own boats, so they can relate and compare. So I think it does catch the eye of folks a little bit more.
So let's relate and compare. Give me a little bit of the nitty-gritty on the specifics of this boat. I see on the back, first thing that grabs your eye, 300 horsepower Yamaha engine.
Yeah, as we look back here towards the back, we do have a 300 horsepower Yamaha. That motor will push this boat about 50 miles per hour. Also on the starboard side next to the motor, we have a platform with a ladder for our divers or anybody else working in the water can get in and out of the boat if needed. As you're working our way up the boat, we have a lot of storage throughout the structure. We have a center console so we can wrap around and work from all sides of the boat. If we're pulling up next to somebody, or if we got to work off a particular side of the boat, we can work on any side, and that's the reason for the center console. There's days we might spend a lot of time out on the water based on the type of incident we're responding to. So we do have an overhead canopy that does provide some shade and stuff for our rescuers when they are out there all day, and providing assistance to whatever the incident might be. And as you work your way up towards the front of the boat, there's additional storage as we move towards the front of the boat. We got room for dive operations, scuba tanks, things of that nature, a standing platform, and then all the way up towards the front, of this particular boat, we actually add a new addition to our squad, is we put on a trolling motor. If you talk to a lot of the fishermen nowadays, they don't use a traditional anchor anymore to anchor their boat in a particular location. You use a trolling motor because they're tied into GPS, and you can anchor your trolling motor to a particular GPS point, and it'll hold your boat to that location. That's the reason for the motor up front. So if we get into a situation where we need to hold our boat on a particular point, or if we're running dive operations off of our boat, we can deploy that trolling motor, and that'll hold a GPS unit so we can run dive operations with that holding us in one location.
Now, you know you're going to get grief about having a trolling motor on it. I'm glad you explained it. Same thing, there are some stock features on this. This is a boat that is a stock boat that you bought locally, and then it's been custom configured from there. So it does have some elements that look familiar to us as a fishing boat.
Yeah, absolutely. Ranger can only do so many different things from their stock. We're looking at some other style of boats when we were looking at the Ranger. The Ranger, based on the price, was our best bang for our buck. As we went, looked at other boats, the next closest boat in comparison, maybe more compared to the old boat that we had, was about $140,000. And so we kind of went back to this one because we felt like this one could do everything we could do, but we did have to take some stock features that come with the boat that they just wouldn't change out for us just based on where it's manufactured.
So as we take a look at the interior of the boat here, the first thing that jumps out at me, got these big dual monitors here. What's going on with that?
Well, these graphs actually serve a pretty good purpose for us. These are basic fishing graphs, but they're state-of-the-art fishing graphs. And we had this installed on our other boat, and we've got some great use out of them and some good results from them, so we thought we'd do the same thing with this boat. These graphs are networked together. These graphs will actually talk to each other a little bit here. You can pull up different images. It gives us GPS, it gives us down scan, it gives us side scan, it gives us a few other different maps that we can use when we're out on the water. But what we're looking at when we're using these a lot of times, the main reason why we went with this type of technology is because it has a structure scan function on it. And when you turn on the structure scan, what it does is when you're going along the bottom, if you're searching for something on the bottom of the river, it gives you a pretty good picture of what's laying down there on the bottom. You can see trees standing up and things to that nature and kind of pinpoint where exactly it's at. So using these graphs this technology has come a long way over the course of the last few years, and before this technology was out, when we were looking for something on the bottom of the river, we would actually have to throw a drag system off the back, big hooks, and drag back and forth on the bottom to try to find what we were looking for. With this technology, it makes those other systems almost obsolete, where we can just rely on the new technology to help us locate things underwater.
In locating things underwater, that's a big part of what you folks do, and I want to explain that a little bit. I know you and I first met doing a dive operation for the Pierre Police Department. You guys were recovering evidence that was thrown into the river. You go out there and you'll look for car bodies, and all sorts of different things end up in the river in this part of the state.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what these are for. These are help us pick up different things on the bottom. So looking for stuff underwater is a big part of what we do, whether it's evidence or whatever the case may be. And this technology really helps us with that. And along with Game Fish and Parks has some excellent technology also that that they come out and help us with.
GPS has really changed the game for you folks. The way I remember 20 years ago compared to where it is now, that's been quite the jump forward.
Yeah, GPS, and everybody's got GPS on their phone typically, and mapping on their phone. When I first got on the rescue squad, it was routine that we would get called out onto the Lake Oahe because somebody had not returned back to the dock because it got dark. Well, what happened before GPS and mapping, I mean, there's maps on graphs and on your phone now. Before that technology was out there, started to get dark. You could easily get lost up on the big lake. You could get turned into a river or a channel or a bay and still think you're on the main channel, and you can't find your way back. So we don't get those type of calls nearly as much as we used to, based on the new technology that people have in their pocket and on their dashboard of their watercraft.
Now, still to come are the radio features and all the communications equipment, because you guys have a lot of radio gear that goes on and you bring with you to every scene.
Absolutely. As of right now, we're just waiting for our radios to come in. We're using a handheld right now for communications. If the boat gets deployed, our radio's on back order, so it's basically our fire radio that we talk back and forth on our fire channel. We do have our marine band radio on board here, so if we do have to speak with another boat, I have a marine band emergency channel 16. We can talk with them through that means as well. But we do have some more equipment coming, and up on top we are still looking at what we're going to do for lights and things of that nature. But like I said, as of right now, if we get a call right now, this thing's ready to go.
And within the rescue squad is the dive team. The dive team is an even more specialized unit of rescue. This is like their home base. This is their office where they work from. You might have, what, a half dozen divers and crew?
Yeah, we have 12 divers, volunteer divers on staff right now, and typically for any particular dive we'll have 4 to 6 divers out there. What we'll typically do is try to have 3 divers on the boat and the rest on standby if we're doing boat dive operations. Sometimes we're able to do dive operations from a shoreline. However, if we have to do boat operation and dive, there's plenty of room up here for a boat operator, 3 divers, and a bunch of equipment.
It looks like a lot of space with just you and I. But the minute you bring on dive with all the tanks and all the gear and then the support crew that keeps them going, this fills up in a hurry.
It will fill up in a hurry, and those divers carry, for safety reasons and for other reasons, carry a lot of gear with them. And then you got a lot of rope and stuff, because when the divers go down, they don't free dive. They always have to be line tended from somebody on the surface. So they're always tethered to somebody up here, so we can work the diving from the boat location.
There's no doubt somebody's watching this right now that's thinking this is pretty cool. And maybe they're interested in being a firefighter, and maybe they're interested in the dive team or working rescue. Where could they find out more information in, and is it something that they could do?
Absolutely. We are always looking for some quality volunteers. You don't even have to have experience or training, because we provide all of that right in-house, right locally here. If somebody's looking to become a firefighter and rescue squad member, it's as simple as going to the City of Pierre website and pulling down an application, or just calling the fire station and getting a hold of me at 773-7401, and we would gladly get you in for an interview. It's a simple process. Once we get you through the process, we'll get you trained. For those that want to become a dive squad member, if you're a diver and if you're into that kind of stuff, it's as simple as getting a hold of the dive captain, putting an application in, and going through that route.
I have a feeling you're going somewhere.
Yeah, we're getting ready to roll.
Where are the live wells on this?
Cut.
Okay, so now you know why B1 has both a trolling motor and fishing rod holders. It's a stock fishing boat purchased from a local dealer, then reconfigured for the purpose of rescue. Hats off to the fire department and the rescue team members for finding innovative ways to keep costs down while getting their response level up. It's a good idea all the way around. Hey, if you'd like to know more about the Pierre Fire Department, they're always looking for new members. Give them a call, 773-7401.